Let's talk about the podcasts.
Right.
You started, so I have to say, you started a podcast. How long? Not your own, but you a company for podcast.
Yeah.
So tell me about that.
Well, yeah. So I started a podcast network company. It's called Action Park Media. And what I'm doing is bringing a bunch of podcasts.
New Jersey.
Well, that's sort of what that's what sort of gave me the idea.
I was
around. No, a bunch of people got killed. It was a terrible theme park.
Exit 7 on the 50
Yeah, I mean, it was fun to go, but you'd come home with a black eye, and it's funny because I was reading an article, and I think 6 people died, and strangely, like the wave pool.
The wave pool.
The wave pool was very dangerous. I mean, now
I had a hand job in that wave pool.
Nice,
it was
nice.
the fucking best moment.
I'm glad I could go for a swim in that.
Yeah. Nice. No, I don't think I released fully, but
thank you very much.
I'm a respectful
it's
guy.
Very kind of you.
But I just remember one of my highlights.
You
of my
didn't release in the wave pool.
I didn't, but one of my highlights of my young life was that fucking hand job.
Hand job in the wave pool.
Yeah,
especially
and
big waves.
It was my friend's younger sister, so I wasn't
nice.
The most ethical.
I'm sure he loved that as well.
I know. Hi, Cindy. She knows who it is. She's probably watching right now.
So yeah, no, the Action Park thing was just like I don't know. I thought it had a good ring to it, and I didn't think it puts because it's not just sports. It's sports entertainment. Right. I'm a big true crime guy, so it's really just was sort of like a name that popped into my head. I went with it. Right. And it's been more work, I will admit. More work than
it always is.
I would have anticipated, but I guess if it were easy, right, everybody would.
The whole world would do it.
Yeah.
Although kind of the whole world is trying.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too. People I don't personally have a podcast. I'm just trying to bring a nice slate of podcasts together.
Yeah.
And then I'm learning about selling the advertising, and it's just fun to learn new things.
Yes.
You know,
So the guy who is really doing great is Bob Menery.
Bob Menery, yeah.
And I love Bob. I'm a fan of Bob. I was on his podcast, and it did really, really.
Yes, it did.
It was top charts.
It was huge.
He was on mine. He was hysterical. He's a great guy. So how did that happen? How did you start with Bob?
Well,
it was like a long. By the way, now it seems like you're a fucking genius.
Right.
But I didn't know. Everyone thought you were out of your mind.
Yeah, no, it was like, I don't understand. This guy's going to be your opener. Like, are you sure that makes sense? And I was like, I just do. I don't know why. I just had to.
He's talented as hell.
I met him.
Talented,
it's funny. I met him at Goal, which is the funny part.
Really?
Yeah, I met him at the sports bar. He was there having a drink with his girlfriend, and he was like, "Hey, I'm a fan of the show." And we were chatting. He was like, "What's going on?" I was telling him about the studio because at that point I had started building out Action Park Media, and I was like, "Hey, man, you should do a podcast." And he was like, "Yeah, I'm working on a couple stuff." And so after it's funny too because Bob's a smart business guy, so it was like nailing him for a guy who hadn't done anything. Nailing him down was pretty hard, but we got a deal together, and his podcast is like he's got the #1 sports podcast in the world, and it's done 10 episodes. So
yeah.
It's fun and it's interesting, and he's a wild card, which is why people tune in. Right. You don't know what's going to happen or what's coming out of his mouth. So it's fun also too. The thing about Bob, and credit to Bob, is he's a master. He knows how to promote. It's funny. He's a marketing guy too. So he'll look at an episode and go, "I know how to market this episode."
Sure.
And that's.
But I think also you can't deny your involvement in your ability to get great.
Oh no, I did.
Come on, no. No. But like in other words, I'm a big fan of Bob. I love him. I think he's a great guy, and I would help him any way he ever needed help because I think I'm on his team. But you were instrumental in also bringing guests on our.
Well, I got you
exactly.
I got you, and by the way, I'm not just saying that because I'm here, but that was a big get for us.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like because it's Bob's audience. They want to hear about people. Bob is true. It's Bob's big second chance. He's about the second chance thing. Like, I love the second chance. Let's talk about why you needed a second chance. Like, that's his whole thing. And so to listen to the two of you guys, I was just like sitting in the booth with my hand down, like, oh my God, this company's going to be over before it even starts. And then it shot to the top, man. People love that episode.
The funniest thing is like the question, the magic question: what's the most money I ever spent on a hooker?
Right.
And like I said, only a true degenerate really knows the answer.
And would want to really, and another degenerate that would want to know the answer to that question.
But what was it, casino chips included?
But and also the best answer ever, which is true. And by the way, I'm talking about casino chips. Like that's the problem I have with gambling. Why I don't like gambling because it doesn't feel real to me. If I had $5,000 and $100 bills in my pocket, but all of a sudden you have like a bunch of chips, and you're like, all right, it's just one chip, right? But it's not one chip, So it's funny that you said that.
What's your what's your plans now with the podcast company? You still feeling your way through?
I mean, we're building, we're building the slate, but I want to eventually move into original content. This might be a couple of years down the road, but eventually I want to do original television content. You know, I want to do, because now you can stream. Like, if you can, I mean,
it's crazy, right?
It really is an artist.
YouTube
it's an
show
artist
in a
market.
second, right?
It's an artist market out there to be able to go out and do whatever the fuck you want. Really,
it's almost like you can prove out stuff online for very little cost. Then if it actually hits, then you can, right? That's
the other thing too about like the podcast and like, you know, like Wolf of Wall Street, for example. Like, so Terry Winter gets paid all that money. He happened to knock that one out of the park. And like you said, the first draft was ready to go.
Very rare, right?
But a lot of times people spend millions of dollars on scripts and they just don't get there.
Yeah.
Right. So podcast is a good way to develop IP, see what your audience is.
Right.
There's a lot of hidden, it's not always necessarily just people yelling into a microphone. There's other plays with development of intellectual properties and whatnot.
Yeah. What do you think in terms of Hollywood right now, like, do you see that? You think it's going to go towards like this? There's two schools of thought, two types of shows. There's like release it all at once and binge it, versus the weekly series. Which one do you prefer?
I prefer to binge it at once, and then after I binge it, I wish I didn't. Right? Does that make sense? So it's like, so if you pop up and there's like Narcos season 2 and it's there. You're like, holy fuck, the whole season is there. What do I do? Cancel everything.
Right.
Right? And then you sit and you watch, you rip through it, and in 2 days you rip through it and you're like, wow, I kind of wish I could go back and see that again for the first time. Yeah. So me personally, I prefer the binge, but I think now they're even starting to do a little bit somewhere in the middle.
Exactly. So Apple,
exactly.
That was they did. The first 3 episodes were released, or the first 2, right?
I think that's a very fair compromise. That way you can get your fill.
Yeah.
You want to be a lunatic and watch 4 hours of TV.
Yeah.
You know, go for it.
What do you think about HBO in terms of HBO? Right? Do you watch a bunch of their shows? Like, do you watch The Watchmen?
Yeah. You know, I've given. I'm one of those people, like, it's really just got to grab me early. And
I can't fucking figure it out.
Sometimes people will tell me, like, yo, you got to hang on. And then I hang on. I'm like, okay. So it really is, you know, look, HBO is HBO. They're on another level.
Right.
You know what I mean? Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? Come on. You see?
Why do you think that is, though? What do you think it is about HBO? That's your series. What do you think it is?
But I think it's like, I think it's your dream date, right? So you get your script and you're like, wow, I love this show. And the first words that are going to come out of your mouth are going to be HBO, right? And that doesn't mean there's not a million other homes. I mean, Showtime is fantastic. Netflix, The Irishman, Scorsese's next movie is a Netflix movie.
Crazy,
That's
right?
Incomprehensible. But on Thursday night, after I eat my turkey, guess what I'm doing? Whole family getting on that couch and we're going to watch fucking Irishman. I'm like, people are like, have you seen it yet? I'm like, no, I'm waiting till Thanksgiving, you know? But to be able to you know, there's a lot of high end places, but somehow, some way, HBO is like always the first words that slip out of people's mouth. You know?
Yeah.
It's funny. Netflix is up on its way.
It's getting there, right?
Well, they're very artist friendly.
Netflix is.
Yeah. Netflix is like, look, you know, here, go do your thing, and they put the trust in the creatives, and you know, when it hits, it hits. It's smart.
All right, let's hear about. You must have a couple of really just insane, crazy Hollywood stories from your time during Entourage.
It was just a crazy time.
I know what I want to hear.
Okay.
I want to hear the story